So we will begin with the reflection that those who die before they die no longer die when they die. As you lie down to prepare for this meditation, imagine yourself lying like a corpse, completely stilled, and your limbs experiencing the cold. Also with the thought or sensations that you may feel, with the words you hear, notice if there is any sense of grief, panic, any anxiety and fear of losing control, fear of the unknown. And with the sound of the gong, as you pay attention to the sound disappearing, you may transcend these fears, worries, and anxieties. You may bring up a sense of curiosity, alertness, to fully embrace the truth that we are all mortal beings. We all have these expiration dates. You may now be aware of your body as a whole, also aware of the natural process of breathing. Death is as close as our breath. Notice things coming and going in your field of awareness. Notice how your body shrinks with its weight to this ground. Until this moment you have felt that it was being held by the energy of you being alive. You may encourage some sense of relaxation, to notice if there is any tension, any tightness in anywhere in your body. You may move away from these tensions, relaxing your arms and relaxing the body as whole. Also relaxing the tense muscles on your face. And now, deliberately, intentionally, with the right intention, We let go of all the responsibilities we had, knowing that the time has come for us to die. You may think about all that is known to you in three ways: your identity, possessions, and relationships. We have to leave them behind. As we were born, we were given a name, and in the course of time, this name was associated with various things we did, we acquired, status, titles, contributions to the world. Everything that goes with this name of ours, we cannot take any of those. We are leaving them behind, knowing that others will continue what we have been doing. They will continue the work the way they want, not the way I want. Whatever they do is theirs. We lose a sense of identity to the mobile phone, to the shoes, to the specs, the wristwatch, any other possessions, precious, day-to-day use stuff, cash, lands, houses, cars. Nameless we came, nameless we go. Reflect on the truth of these statements. After we go, somebody else will own and use what we have owned in their own ways. And also the truth that naked we came, naked we go. Owning nothing we came, owning nothing we go. We disown the family in which we are part of. The former clothing, none of that goes with us. Alone we came, alone we go. We only can let go of this stuff. Also, let us reflect on how death comes in various ways, by accidents, drowning, getting hit by something, collapsing, insect bites, snakes, disease, heart failure, cancer. Gradually or suddenly, we lose control of our ability to breathe in and breathe out. And we start to feel heavy in that body that became our only possession to the deathbed. Notice also how the warmth of your body, this we call the heat element, disappear, and your lungs may collapse and you are gasping for breath. So the body feels heavy. If you have a blanket over you at the moment of your death, that blanket becomes so heavy. When others try to lift that blanket over a part of your body, they too feel the heaviness that you are experiencing. The weight of the body has not changed. But if you are dying of old age, all those wrinkles, gray hair, signs of old age, loss of teeth, ability to speak, ability to swallow, ability to get up and move from bed, and days on end or months on end, being stuck between a bathroom and your bed, with IV attached to you, with oxygen support. You may own a huge mansion, but you are living in a very small part in that mansion. Now limited to the bed, losing some senses of smell, taste, losing all the control that you've had, also experiencing embarrassment, being like a child, depending on others, wanting water, but you feel so thirsty. You are no longer able to communicate. Sometimes you can only open your mouth. In your physicality, there is a sense of cold sensation arising. With that, the solid nature of your bones and muscles and the movements of your lungs, movements of your blood, all of that gradually decrease. You may as well notice blueness if you looked anywhere in your body. Inhaling and exhaling becomes very difficult. Making last efforts to breathe in and breathe out. Gasping for breath. So earth element, water element, fire element and air element. You can only experience the dissolution of these elements and their departure from your control. and you no longer feel any sense. But there's just this beauty of knowing it, beauty of being mindful at time of the death coming. All the four elements, including the wind element, falls apart. Eyes, stomach, all of these vital faculties collapse. There is perhaps some sickening smell that attracts insects and animals, and the climate of the body quickly change. If the body is left lying in the ground, it gets eaten by the earth, the insects, worms, and you don't sense any of these sensations. You no longer feel these sensations. You are lying there like a log that has no use. And gradually, when the skin and flesh have disappeared, only the skeleton remains. The skeleton that held your body together also gets decomposed, no longer able to make any postures or own or move any part of it. You are not even claiming it as yours. You have thus trained bravely, while being fully alive, this precious meditation that reduces the hindrances and gives us some ability to gain concentration quickly. Mind arrives at tranquility. You are also in the process of healing your past wounds and griefs. And there is this genuine sense of peace and calmness springing from within. This is the path to deathless, the supreme happiness. This is one of the tranquility meditations, maintaining awareness of death and maintaining continuously reflecting on the nature that we die and there is continuity after death, creating wholesome conditions for happy rebirth, not to remain stuck in unhappy states of the mind. With a sense of gratitude, a sense of well-being, also a sense of resilience. You reflect on your life as a whole, forgiving those who have not come to your attention as people that should be forgiven. Forgiving yourself also for not understanding the truth of certain things, letting go of worries and troubles, lying awake and aware, noticing with each step of your breathing, inhaling and exhaling, you get closer to the truth of inevitable death. Seeing with wisdom the end of life in yourself and comparing this life to a lamp kept in a windy place. Just like that light may get blown away by the wind, our life may end. Our life may also end like a burning oil lamp, with the oil of karma ending, the wick being burned, that is our lifespan. Or both ending, karma and lifespan both ending. Or by accidental winds. So these different ways that we face this truth of death. Now you may reflect on friends and relatives who have come to such great heights of their lives, prosperity, who have also passed away, sometimes with no sign of saying goodbye, no time to say goodbye. Just like that, death will indeed come to all of us. Along with birth, death always seeks an opportunity like a slaughterer. His sword, the dagger hoisted, waiting for an opportunity to seize and take our life. Life without halting for a moment, always moving, runs like the sun that hastens to set after its rise. Like a bubble, like a streak of lightning, like a dewdrop dripping from a leaf, death can never be avoided. Death can come in this moment, in an instant. It has come to the supreme enlightened Buddhas, spiritual teachers who had great powers, merits, great wisdom. What could be said of me? In all the places, of all the places you have lived in this mind as well, which is an unlimited area. If anger was boiling in the kitchen of that mind, we switch off that anger, the burner, abandon it, abandoning hatred, abandoning jealousy, abandoning conceit. We choose loving kindness, freedom from, liberation from those mental tendencies. If worries are collected under the rugs of this mind, we sweep and do some cleansing work to keep the mind home, pure and clean, free from regrets and worries. If you have owned any past worries and troubles, the past cannot be edited. Future is as yet to arrive. All we have is this moment. That means when you think of the past, you think of it now. When you think of the future, you think of it now. So this moment is so precious that we won't waste it on any mistakes or worries and errors, anything that is troubling us. We don't rush things that needs time to grow, bloom, or disappear. We give that time patiently. With a momentary death, one may pass away within the twinkling of an eye. Or with external injuries or internal injuries. As the Buddhas have said, all component things are indeed transient, including your thoughts, mental constructions, and all the lies that the mind has built. Losing the sense of wanting to control everything, but instead we have chosen to be controlled at times, to live in a negative place in the mind. All these arisings, mental constructs, lies, they are of the nature of arising and decaying. Having come into being, they cease to be. The cessation of all these physical and mental constructs is such a bliss and freedom and a liberation. When one sees with wisdom that all component things are transient, he overcomes misery. This is the path to purity. Owning and getting controlled by these arisen things create unsatisfactoriness. Instead, seeing the arising nature and the nature of passing away, not with your eyes open, but with your eyes closed or downwardly directed, or upwardly half open, whatever way you wish to contemplate on it. We overcome the sense of self and control. That way we overcome misery, disowning all that belongs to the past. So this recollection of death, developed and frequently practiced, yields great reward, great blessing, and has Nibbana, freedom from death, freedom from anger, freedom from attachment as a reward. Day and night we may reflect on this truth as often as possible, dropping the need to follow the news in the world. Instead, observe all that is arising and catching your attention with a sense of wisdom and disowning, sense of grace and equanimity. Truly knowing that there are many possibilities for me to experience death. Not knowing is an obstacle to living this life. If there is in me any unsubdued evil, any attachment to unwholesome things, I understand how they have been part of me, parts and wholes, all these that you have held as yours are no longer yours. With this great realization and awakening and wakefulness, with that utmost resolution, energy, effort, endeavor, steadfastness, attentiveness, and clear-mindedness, you overcome evil and unwholesome states of your mind. This is true solitude. While being alive, we reflect on death, but not be mortified or dreaded or terrified. No terror arises. There is such beauty and freedom. Not being shaken when you are disliked, or in losses, or in gains, or in overjoy, or in contact with frenemies, enemies, or friends. Not being afraid of those who are alive or those who have said goodbye to us forever. Reflecting wisely, overcoming any repression, giving rise to awareness of just being with a full sense of relief, calmness and tranquility. Life is a dream. In this dream, we notice that the Buddha has never said life is suffering. He said there is suffering that we experience with birth, grief, death, sorrow, lamentation, not getting what we want, departure from loved ones, having to live with those that we dislike. But the Buddha also said life is full of happiness, and the ultimate bliss of Nibbana, freedom from suffering, awaits us while we are being alive. So life is not suffering. Once we practice often the truth, we become liberated and have a life that is full of blessings, easiness, and with right perspective toward everything, dropping all the lies, dropping also ignorance, we arrive at truth that is so liberating. Notice also how we depend on our in-breath and out-breath, that the body has been doing it for us. And we depend on food, depend on the sun and vitamins. We trust our functions of different parts of our body. Nobody knows when, where, and under what circumstances death will take place. Life can be very short and limiting, but living this life to the fullest is why we chose to practice awareness of death. In some of the Tibetan Buddhist traditions, in order to become a teacher, they experience death in meditation and return to the body. In Theravada Buddhist meditation, we notice the cessation of perception and feeling in deep, subtle awareness levels where consciousness also ceases to exist with the cessation of perceptions and feelings. And then it comes back because life continuum is still present. If things have angered you in any way, notice the hollow nature of this anger. It didn't have to torture us in any way. We will devote our times to the good, not getting disgusted with things. Instead, looking at everything with an attitude of peace and beauty as well as equanimity. The idea of impermanence, that all the constructed things in the world, familiar to us or not familiar to us, owned by someone else or owned by us, they all vanish. We become visitors. We may practice the visitor mind once in a while, even in our own houses and rooms. So instead of looking for things to fix, we admire the walls and the beauty as a visitor, such as living in this meditation room right here at this moment. We are visitors, not owners of anything. Now we have come to the end of this meditation. May you be able to overcome any obstacles that arise in your mind. May you be able to face them with clear awareness, with a sense of wisdom, not letting your intelligence be hijacked by hormones, electronics, visuals, emotions, temper, or likes and dislikes. Instead, with a sense of harmony and peace, you may revisit this meditation at any time. we pause for a moment to notice what arises in our minds. In the Buddha's own words, the Buddha said, "Heedfulness is the way to the deathless." Those who are heedless are like already dead, on their way to experience the evil death, the evil person who is going to one day claim the life. Those who are heedful are never going to die. They will arouse mindfulness and transition unbothered by sorrows of others, cries of others asking you to stay, but graciously being called to heavens and beyond, by your own goodness being carried away far and beyond. May you be well and happy. May you be at peace. May no harm come to you by the power we have generated through this practice of meditation. May our departed relatives rejoice in our wholesome perspective and good merits. May they fulfill their wishes. May they find happy home and happy rebirth in their continuity. We are doing wonderful. We celebrate life of theirs, life of ours every moment. May heavenly beings rejoice in our good karma. May they also experience more heavenly rewards, and may they protect us, guide us, guard us as best as they can. May we all arrive at freedom from suffering, freedom from ignorance, freedom from any unknownness that we have developed over the years of associating a mind and physicality. May we all be free and experience deathlessness. With the sound of the gong, you may come out of your meditation. Notice your eyes and hands and the body as best as you can. You may also stretch and come to a sitting posture if you like. So it is 6:50 now. Just reminding you the time if you have other things happening after this, but any thoughts that you like to share? Yeah.
I felt in the description of how the breath will change when you're close to death. I just felt a lot of gratitude for my breath being smooth right now. And I don't know, but one thing is I'm wondering, I felt like I was in that section, I was thinking of the description very abstractly as well. It's not my body, it's not my breath, it's someone else's that I'm thinking about. So I don't know if that's why I could stay quite calm in that section.
I was trying to visit the word gratitude in this meditation, but it's just not coming to my mind. I may have said it.
You said it later. Okay.
Yeah.
Because it
Right.
resonated when you said it.
Yeah. Thank you for noticing that. Right, it is happening involuntarily, without us having to remind the body to breathe. And how careless we are with the things we do in our lives, sometimes just ignoring the fact that, the body is doing it for us, even in sleep.
And just thinking about what it would be like to be so weak that you can't take another breath,
Mm-hmm.
and then realize that, this is it. It's couldn't help but be a little scared at thinking about what that would be like, which I think is the point of this, right?
Yeah.
Try and make it so that when that happens, there's no fear.
Right.
It's just peaceful.
Right. I think the striking words there that you've just said, this is it. I think some people who have had near-death experiences, like plane crashes, they also say, this is it. Mom, I gave up everything. I love you. That comes to their mind. But I think with the breath, the fact that we are losing control of it, it's, this is it. Right there, the awareness of it. We are now transcending to the unknown. But this familiarity that we have cultivated, I think, will come in handy at a time like that. But most people are scared to try it. I think it's very rare that people visit something like this, that they kind of keep it aside, thinking that it's going to create more troubles. So the fear of losing control. Anything else?
I think another thing you said that struck me was that one of the things that the Buddha said was also that life is full of happiness.
Yeah.
Because stereotypically, you think of Buddhism as the first sort of tenet is life is nothing but suffering, so you have to completely disengage from that.
Yeah.
But then it's also you can't they're two sides of the same coin, right?
Yeah.
You can't have one without the other.
Right. I've heard many meditation teachers say that the Buddha said life is suffering, but I disagree with that, with this very understanding that he didn't say that. Because I've studied Pali language, I've never found any statement resonating with that meaning. As a young man, being 29-year-old in his life, he had the questions of why there is a death body, what is the answer to this, why there is this dying man, what is the answer to this, why there is this aged body, is there any way to stop it? It sounds so silly. But then he also saw a monk having left all his possessions, having come to a place of being a monk, seeking answers to the same questions that he had. And he started from there, and he discovered the teachings of how existing and birth in different forms, different places, human or animal realms, they all experience this death. For each and every one of those beings, there is some sense of image that they cling to. And this image or desire to be this way or that way, and he kind of saw how clinging led to that, and how craving was behind that clinging, and how a contact with sixth sense faculties for all these beings arose, gave birth to this craving. And then right before that, before making a contact, being conscious with the world, there is no way that craving landed in us from nowhere. It just is conditionally arisen for happiness and sadness and all the worldly conditions. But in the very root, in the last link of that dependently arising links, if you have studied that aspect of Buddhism, is not knowing these things. Ignorance. So people associate with sorrow and lamentation, being very affected by them because of not knowing how we have created mental lies. If someone known to us die, the suffering is different. If someone not known to us die, suffering doesn't even affect us. In those moments, we may be experiencing happiness in life, not associated with the death of that person, but just something else that all these are just vicissitudes of life. So the Buddha looked at this nature and he said in Mangala Sutta, that is the discourse on happiness, that not being shaken by whatever happens is the greatest blessing. That is like experiencing the deathlessness, experiencing the freedom. But to revisit, what you've just said about what the Buddha said, it's a big misunderstanding in the world about the Buddha's teachings. There is, of course, he spoke about suffering greatly, but he was showing the Eightfold Path. He used the language, ditta dhamma, in this very life, pasu viharaya, for the comfortable living while you are alive. That's while you are living this very life. This is why he taught. In this very life, while we are being alive, experience the truth and live a life full of perspective and understanding. But not many people go in that direction, or not many people interpret him that way. He showed happiness and the highest happiness. That's how I approach and teach when I can. But if some teacher say that in front of me, I would not try to correct them. I just, in a friendly conversation, I would bring that, because it feels like confronting them, and it's not necessary. Anything else that came up? I'm glad you paid attention to that little piece.
Yeah, I wanted to thank you for bringing that up, because when you said this, I was also that clarifies things, and actually that idea that he didn't say life itself is suffering.
No. Yeah. We can see, in his first sermon, he pointed to experiences of ours, like sometimes we want things and we can't have them. That is suffering. He looked at it that way. He named them. 8 ways he named these experiences. Sometimes you dislike a person, now you have to live with this person. That is suffering, he said. Sometimes you want to live with a person, but they are far away, and that creates loneliness and suffering. And sometimes aging, we want the body to be young, but it won't listen to us. And that, he said, is suffering. And then death comes to us, and we know we are now terminal, and that is suffering. He named them, and then he said toward the end, in brief, all the 5 aggregates that we are made of: the body, feelings, perceptions, consciousness, and mental constructs. All these 5 aggregates, collections, their continuous change creates suffering. That's how he looked at it. When you know that, there's no way you can interpret the Buddha in a very different way. It's so liberating when we learn it that way. Otherwise, we get also blinded by the misinterpretations of these teachings. Anything else? Okay, thank you. I try to also bring the departed relatives to our heart and also wish them happy home. So I'm sure you were thinking of your, beloved ones, and all of us were thinking of our beloved ones. And yeah. Okay, thank you for this beautiful time. Until next time.